I'm the president of the Cercle de Généalogie, the Jewish Genealogical Society of France. I'm working in this society for almost 15 years, and I did develop the genealogy of the Jews of Tunisia and Livorno, together with my wife and with some other people. I've become the president, and my purpose is to have the Circle of Genealogy well known all over the world, if I may say, already in France. And we have become one of the first circle of genealogy in Europe. Which, another slide, please. What we do, in fact, we are exactly 15 people and a little bit more at this circle. We are working free. I mean that all what we are doing and our profit are just for the circle. We are not paid. We do not get one penny of what we do. Uh, we help all our members to know how to work on their genealogy, and we also bring them a lot of information. Should it be with the mean of our own library, where we have some 1,000 books and more than 6,000 documents, all about genealogy. So we used to receive some people in Paris, and we do help them. Can you change? Alors, our organization is this. We have five, no, it's too quick. We have five specialized regional groups. Some of them are in France, in the east of France, also Eastern Europe, West Europe, North Africa, and also concerning the Ottoman Empire. We also have what we call antennas to represent our society. One in the south of France, Marseille, Toulouse in the west of France, in the east of France also in the region which is Lorraine, in Luxembourg, and also in Israel. So all these antennas do represent us, and we do participate to local shows every 2 months during the year. Please. This is to show you where are our members. Finally, our members are all over the world. We have even some of them in Australia, but also in Brazil, in South America, United States, Canada, Europe, of course, Israel, everywhere. It happened to be that most of our books, minds, are written in English and French, and this helps a lot because the sales of our book, more than 1/3 is done abroad. Please. Alors, during our group meeting, as I told you, regional group meetings, we meet all together and we have plenty of people coming. We share the information, we give lectures, and also it allows people to know each other because it is sure that by Zoom everything is possible, but with Zoom there is a lack of real human communication. And this, we are learning it now after a while, that we have sometimes to come back really to meeting with real people. Please. Well, we used to give conferences, of course, everywhere in France, but also in some places like which are very famous about the Jewish culture, like the Memorial of the Shoah. The Memorial of the Shoah in Paris. At the Memorial of the Shoah, you can see here, I was giving a lecture together with let's say, Mr. Boulu, and each time we gave these lectures at the Memorial of Shoah, there are something like, let's say, between 50 or 80 people coming. This is a very nice place, and it's a pleasant way to speak about our work. Please. Alors, we also give some conferences, lectures in the east of France. This one was in the east of France. So I was giving a lecture about our book, but also among our members are history teachers like Mr. Pierre-André Meyer, who is one of the founding member of the Cercle and specialist in Lorraine. Laurent Moïse is from Luxembourg. He is a journalist, an historian, a novelist, and he is working together with us. So, in fact, it allows us to be everywhere when we want. Please. Uh, very not that far, not that long ago, we gave another lecture. It was in the city of Nice, in the south of France, and also in the city of Toulouse, where is a very interesting Sephardi community, and not only Sephardi, but Toulouse is how do I say, is a center of Jewish life, and of course we were there. Please. We were in Netanya, Israel. Fortunately, we had to participate. We did participate to a very interesting congress where which lasted some almost 4 days, and it allowed us to share our information with all the Jewish, how do you say, with all the Jewish genealogies, the local one in Israel. And this is very important because they help us, we help them, and we are keeping a close contact with them all year long. Please. Alors, just to give you also an example of what we do, uh, we have close contact with consistories or synagogues in France, but not only in France, everywhere. It could be also in Italy, in Spain, or wherever. When we were in the city of Nantes, we had the opportunity to be invited at the 15th, at the 154th anniversary of the synagogue. And my wife has done a very important work going at the cemetery of Nantes. And at the cemetery of Nantes, how do you say, she wrote a book. She took many pictures and she reconstituted all the genealogies of this city. And it happened to be something which is to say, it happened that I was born in this city. I was born in this city. And why? Because my parents coming from Tunisia, they had to stop in Nantes, and I was born at the moment they stopped in Nantes. So I stayed in Nantes for just very few time, and I went back to Tunisia. But what is odd and interesting is that in the very street of the where is was the synagogue, I did discover that this street was the street where I was born, and I did not know this in advance. But okay, it is just happening. Please. Alors, we participate to most of all the annual international congresses of Jewish genealogy. We were in Washington, in Paris, in Jerusalem, in Warsaw, in Philadelphia, and I hope to go to Florida, if not next year, or maybe in 2026 or 27, I don't know. But I'm sure that there is something to do in Florida, in Miami, because there is a very important community, and many people that I know are coming also from the north of Africa, Tunisia, and Morocco. Please. Alors, as I told you, we participate to some show, some fair in France. Here you can see let's say, a tiny staff, but doing a good job, because when we are in these cities, we can sell our books, we can have new members, and it is also, as I told you, the pleasure to be at the very close contact with people, which I think has become more important than before today, because Zoom has, let's say, cut the link sometimes. Please. Another participation at the Yiddish Day. Where exactly? This is at the Museum of Art and History of Jewish Art and History in Paris. That is a very, very important and major place in Paris. I did organize the first genealogy show some three years ago, and it was very, I would say, sympathetic because I was not expecting that many people coming and interested by the matter. I will talk you about the matter soon after, please. Alors, the way we are working, when we are working on a subject, we use to gather many sources to enrich the documentation of on which we have been working. Just an example about the book that we wrote about the Ketubbot of Tunisia, of the Grana, of the Jews coming from Italy, getting to Tunisia. We have worked on consular correspondences, passport, registers of chancellery, protection, cemeteries, civil states archive, newspapers, Ketubbot, archives of the great rabbi of Tunisia. Well, this is just a part, but you know, this peacock is just an illustration that we have many sources, and when we start to study a source, we do it totally. I mean that should it be at the how do you say the national archives, diplomatic archives in France or everywhere, we do it 100%. Please. Alors, we have also developed three important databases. These databases have become extremely important for all our members. There is the databases Becan, who the purpose of it is to gather information from all the civil status of Tunisia. There is another database, Biquet. Biquet is how do you say, is the study of all the cemeteries, the Jewish cemeteries in Tunisia. And we have taken many thousands of photographies, pictures, and we can also, I will explain you later, you can have all the information from the grave and also the photographies of each grave. And each grave has been translated. Some of the graves were carved in French, Italian, Hebrew, and Arabic. So it took a lot of time to decipher each of the graves, which were in a very bad condition. But we did our best to translate everything. Thank you. Alors, just here you can see from the base Becan, which is the base concerning the civil status. As an example, when we ask for with the name Dana, and we ask from the year 1912 to the year 1914, we get immediately 17 results. On this example, I've chosen just one result among the 17. And what do we read? Well, we read, of course, the name and the surname, the name of the parents, the name of the witnesses, the signatures, which are here, and many other information like the street where they were living, the work that they were doing, and the age when they were born, or when they married, or when they died. So it means that just from one document, and you know, there are dozens of information, and also the signature. And the signature is very important in terms of genealogy, as even when you have names which are exactly the same, you can make the difference by looking and at the signatures. Signatures are really the stamp of each person. Please. Alors, I told you about Biquet. Alors, Biquet is the same thing. So if I enter the name of Shalom, I find four people under this name. And I did ask in between 1895 and between 1892. So I have done a selection here, and I found the name of Mrs. Attias, who is the wife of well, Mrs. Clotilde Shalom, who is the wife of Mr. Attias. And I have found also another Shalom, Abraham. And you can see that we have the information concerning the name, the day of their birth, of their death, and also some information about their age. We also can show you the photographies of the graves, and you can see here that there is a wonderful photo. These photos are, at the beginning, the quality of the photos were very bad, but my wife did work many months on each photos to clean them, to reorganize, to have more contrast. And today, when you want to look at the grave of your grandmother, for example, you are capable to see it, to see quite the reality. Alors, in this database, we have 7,500 records and 8,300 photos of tombstone, which is really important when we consider the scale of the community of the Jews of Tunisia. And mostly 30% of all the tombs, all the photos that we have taken, comes from a cemetery in the city of Tunis, whose name is Borgel. I told you about the writing, which is in English, not in English, in French, in Italian, in Hebrew, and also in Arabic. Well, some of about 900 tombs were not at all translated. So we spent something like 1 year to translate each of the tomb that could not be, I would say, seen very well. But fortunately, I have a friend from Morocco who did help us, and it allowed us to give really nice information to our members. Please. Alors, there is another database. Alors, this other database is a kind of a pool of several databases. It means that if we, how to say, if we ask for a name and about a surname, a year, you will have the information coming from all our databases, and not only from all the information that we did insert in our computer. Because in these databases, we have something like 163,000 records and 3,500 reproduction of documents. You have to know that the Circle of Genealogy was born 40 years ago. So it means that during these 40 years ago, our people did gather all the information, and this is the reason why we have now this record, like this letter that you can see. And this is extremely important because it means that the information that we have are the information from the very first source. It is not at all information coming from a book or coming from a copy. This is a result of our own searches with the real papers that we had in hand. Please. Alors, we had been working very long at the Diplomatic Archive Center in France, close to Paris, where we had found the civil status of the Tunisian Tunisian Jews in Tunisia. Alors, to do it, we had to read exactly 128,000 documents. From these 188,000 documents, which were about any kind of people, should be Jewish, should be not Jewish, should be Italian, Arab, and so on. Bon. We were able to find and to separate 26,000 documents exactly concerning the only Jews. And this, let's say, was possible because our staff and I above all, and also some of our people, we have the knowledge, the exact knowledge of all the Jewish names of Tunisia. So it helps, of course. And if you do not have that kind of culture of the names, the surnames, onomastic, it would have been totally impossible. So what we did was working on microfilms, of which the quality was extremely bad, because it has been taken in a, how to say, like in emergency, I don't know, but the quality was bad. And again, we had to work on each of the photos. And you can see our staff here extremely concentrated. Please. Same thing in La Courneuve. We have been working also not only on the Jews from Tunisia, but also on the Jews from Balkan, from the Ottoman Empire between 1914 to 1922. And we have examined something like 2,000 and more files, and all what we had found in these files have been inserted in the Regi databases. So here again, we work from real documents that we have in hand. This is our own source of documents. So it means that when we speak about something, we are proud to say that it is the reality. Please. Hello, here there is an also diplomatic archives in Nantes, in the city of Nantes. In the city of Nantes, the interest is this: is that the archives are dating from the 16th century, to nowadays. And when we had been working at this center, diplomatic archive center of Nantes, we did read all the diplomatic letters, all the diplomatic correspondences between France and Tunisia, between France and Italy, between France and Egypt, between France and Libya and Morocco. Each time we had found a document in which a Jew was mentioned. Automatically we took the photo and we translated. Should it be from French, Italian, well. And why is it so important? It is because the fact that many Jews were doing business from France to Tunisia, from Tunisia to Italy, and France, means that we have found a lot of documents concerning these Jews, and by the intersection in between all the documents that we have, should it be the births, the cemeteries, and so on, it means it comes and it gives a link between Tunisia and France, and it gives a link back until the 16th century. And we have spent many months and years to work at these archives. And again, nobody alone would have been able to do it. I mean that we needed to be a staff, we needed to be a team, sometimes of 6 people, and we spend 1 week in this city 3 times, 4 times, 6 times a year. Please, thank you. Here in Israel, same purpose. We were at the National Library of Jerusalem. We were at the Central Archives of the history of the Jewish people in Jerusalem, at the Yeshiva of Bnei Brak. And here again, it was really a pleasure to decipher, to discover. And it is passionating. I mean, when you start to get to the real old documents, I mean that you feel that something is happening. And this is why also we are passionate. It is not genealogy only, but history, and also, let's say that the stuff, if I may say, the stuff itself, the things that you touch, we say with the reality, from the Greek rea, which means the things that we touch. Please. When we were in Livorno, you know that we have written a book about Livorno from 1626 to 1890, and we were lucky. We were lucky to discover all the registers of marriage of Ketubbot from during almost 300 years in continuity. It was written in an old Jewish writing, so it is said that a few people can translate it. Fortunately, I had a friend with a guy from Morocco who speak Hebrew, English, Italian, seven languages, and the guy was very aware about Aramaic, because all the Ketubot are not written in Hebrew, but in Aramaic. So you have to understand Aramaic and also to understand the writing. I do not speak Hebrew, but I did learn of how to read Hebrew, and of how to read the old way of writing, which is really, how do you say, a very nice thing to discover and to be able to do. Please. We went also to Pisa. Pisa, there is a small community. And why we went to Pisa is that because the Jews in Livorno, at the beginning, were coming partially from Pisa. So we had found some documentation and all the weddings, the marriages, the births, and of the Jews from Pisa. So it gave us the link also to Livorno. And it is very interesting because some of the Jews which were expelled from Spain and Portugal, some of them went to Italy. And from these parts of Italy, of the north of Italy, some of them then went back to Pisa. And from Pisa, they went to Livorno. So it is interesting to learn about each of these cities because you can find traces of these people. Thank you. We went also to Firenze because at the Archivio di Stato di Firenze, there are many information about the Jews of Livorno. Because in Livorno, for example, there are not all the information. You can find some additional information only in Firenze, and you can see here that we are, how do you say, studying on an original document. Thank you. Alors, we went also to the city of Trieste. Trieste is an important place in the north east of Italy. And why it is so important is that many of the Jews of Trieste are coming from, are not Sephardi, but are Ashkenazi. And when we did discover this city, we learned a lot, and we had the opportunity to visit a fantastic cemetery of Trieste, which in which how do you say, you feel well, and the how do you say, the aesthetism of the cemetery is so nice that I would go back anytime to see it. So the beauty of this cemetery, which has not been destroyed, is interesting to see. And one of the member, the manager of this community, was a fantastic guy. Please, thank you. Also, I told you about the cemeteries. So this is in the east of France, and you can see here our team working on the graves, on each graves of the cemetery. So we were washing the graves with a brush, with and of course you may imagine that this takes a lot of time, but progressively and after a while, this is the only way to let's say to rub the moss which is on the grave, and it allows us to discover and finally to do a good job. Please, thank you. Same thing in France. we went to Cirque-les-Bains, we went to L'Île-sur-la-Sorgue, we went to Nantes, and each time you can see how the graves are. Some of them are in good condition, but not always. And the other thing also is that some of the old cemeteries are abandoned because there are no more Jews on the place and nobody is coming there. Fortunately, the fact that we go there, at least we gather the information and we work on the memory of all these people. Thank you. In Tunisia. In Tunisia, there was before the cemetery of the Borgel, there was a cemetery which has been entirely destroyed. Yeah, it was the cemetery of all the Jews for many centuries, and the Arabs did destroy everything, and they recovered. They used the stones for their houses, and they did modify and transform the whole surface of the cemetery to become a garden, to become a place and a garden. So unfortunately, the memory of all these people has been lost. But we are working on this. You can see here how it looks. So you can imagine that you have all these dirty moss and spots. It takes very long and it needs muscles and money. And you see, most of them were broken. Well, anyway, we do it. Thank you, please. Alors, our Circle of Genealogy, we publish books, we publish review, we publish lot of let's say books which are written from our member, and some of our member, as I told you, are really specialists and historian. Here is one of the book of my wife. Here one of the book of I don't know I cannot read, it does not matter, but you see these are books about the cemetery which are available. Can you do it? Turn, please. Alors, about the publication, some which have got a huge modesty apart success was this one, Le Clan Goucho, which was written by Mr. Paul Pierre-André Meyer, and was this one that a lot of people know all over the world, if I dare to say, because the fact that I wrote it in English, that we wrote it together in English and French, has I would say has allowed to sell it everywhere in the world. And I would say that this book has its own diaspora because it has the same diaspora as these Jews living Italia, Livorno, and Tunisia, and that we may find these people now all over the world, which is really interesting to see the parallelism between the book and the people themselves. Thank you. Alors, we also work on the newspapers. My wife did work on La Dépêche Tunisienne and also Le Petit Matin. So how do you say, she read all the newspapers from the beginning to the end, and each time there was a Jewish presence, a Jewish notification, she copied it, she wrote it, she took the photos, and she wrote a book about that. And all the information that were included in these newspapers, of course, you cannot find them in the civil status. These information are totally apart, and it is by intercrossing this information that progressively we built a whole body. I mean that let's say that the civil status is a kind of a skeleton. All the information that we gather progressively makes a whole body. It means that we put the muscles, the heart. So this is the way that the Cercle de Généalogie works. Please. We publish every 3 months. We publish our own review, which is let's say sold to all our members, and in which we have excellent, how to say, excellent papers coming from sometimes our members, sometimes by how to say specialists or important people, not only from our circle. And we have the, how to say, the memory of these reviews because we have kept them in PDF. So it means that from your own home and computer, you can go directly, and there is an index that you can find any kind of documents that we have found, and this for almost 40 years. Please. Alors, we had I told you that at the Musée d'Art et d'Histoire du Judaïsme, the Museum of Art and History of Judaism, I had launched the first Jewish show in Paris. Uh, uh, and During 2 days, we had 800 visitors. 800 visitors. We gave lectures. How do you say, many people came. How do you say, we were able to show uh, various itineraries of Jews coming from all over the world. And we have studied a kakemono, special kakemono, a kakemono which were of 2 meters 50 high and by 1 meter width. And we have shown 32 huge kakemono. And in this exhibition, everybody was at least feeling how and we have been working on their genealogy. It was really a great moment. Please. Voilà. See, for example, one of the panels on which we had hooked this kakemono. You can see here Tunisia, France, East Europe, and this was the introduction. The introduction also. I did call it a family affair, and you can see that we had some of the genealogical tree, some of the photos of the people, the history. But it was really interesting, and she's my wife, Liliane Nedjar, who has built all of them, particularly. Please, thank you. Alors, during this first genealogy show, we invited, for the conferences, we invited very important and very famous personalities like this man, Mr. Moati, who is a very famous writer, novelist, and journalist. And he was an orphan. He was an orphan at the age of 12 years old. He lost his two parents. And we luckily had the opportunity to show him what was his past and his genealogy. And we found that this guy coming from Tunisia, in fact, was also not only Sephardi, but he was also Ashkenazi. And it was the first time that he discovered the real past of his family. He has done movies also. He was crying when he discovered that. So genealogy is also, may I say, a therapy. Please. Alors, now our exhibition, the one that you saw just a few minutes ago, has become itinerant. That we are trying to have this exhibition all over France, and also I hope all over the world. My purpose is to do it in the United States, but it could be somewhere else. It could be in the Netherlands. We never know. We are ready to do it, and we are ready, for example, to translate what we have done in our kakemono, to translate it in English. Just a question of time and a little bit of money, of course. Please. Alors, this was in the city of Metz. And in the city of Metz, also, we had many people who have come. And you can see from the way the people, they are looking at what we have done, of how the interest was great. I mean by that the way that we had chosen to show genealogy, again, modesty apart, was the best way to interest people because, how to say, we were showing some things that they could understand, the way they came from, the way they went to, and with all the documents. So it was really interesting. And my intention one day is to launch a real movie of what we are doing. Please. We also have partners. Our partners are, for example, the magazine L'Arche, which is a very important Jewish magazine in Paris, and we write some pages in this one, for instance. Please. Well, I had the opportunity to show our work at the radio. There is a wonderful radio, Radio J, in Paris, and here, I am here. Uh, One of our member also, Mrs. Raquel Levy-Toledano is speaking, Mr. Max Polonovsky, Pierre-André Meyer. So I invite them to come, and each month, each 2 months, there is a guest, and we are talking about genealogy. And of course, this is great because it means that many people now know our society. Please. Voilà, I have told you most everything about our society. Maybe I took a little bit long, and maybe my English is a little bit poor. I've not been speaking English for a long time. But what I wanted was to show you that our society, we are not genealogists working just for one person who is asking us to do her genealogy. We are working for all the Jew people and more by bringing them the tools to do their genealogy in a very large, in a very big comfort. I thank you very much. I hope that I have told you most all. If you have any question, I am at your disposal. Voilà.
Well,
Tom and David.
thank you very much. That was, I mean, it's a very, very impressive society. Can I just ask a couple of questions on areas that you didn't mention? You have discussed the French consular records in the Ottoman Empire and Tunisia, particularly. What about the Balkan countries post independence and Egypt in particular? Have you?
In fact, what we have studied about Egypt and Libya comes from the diplomatic archives of France, because we have been working on what they had like documents. We could not go, of course, to Libya, and we could not go to Egypt. So the only documents on which so far that we have been working were the documents that the diplomatic archives they had, and just to work on that, we have a team of several people working. I mean, there was no other way for us to work about on this matter.
Have you looked at the French Freemasonry archives?
Oh, excellent question. Yeah. Uh, alors, no, we have not done it, but I know that a lot of Jews were Freemason.
Yes.
For example, from Tunisia, I know that there are some families, and also from Jews coming from Livorno, who were among the Freemason of Tunisia. Even my grandfather, he was a Freemason of Tunisia. My father told me, and it is sure that there is something about that, but I have not, I could not study all. I mean that I had not the opportunity to do it, but it's a good question. But I know one um, of our member whose name is Martin Bocara, who has studied about that. And I know I have books about the Freemason of Tunisia, and there is a guy who has written something. I can send you the copy of this book. I have the copy of this book. Remind me to me. I will take the picture.
Okay.
It is very interesting. It is in France, but it is about Freemason, which are not so. It's difficult to find that kind of book.
Yeah, thank you. And one last question from me. Do you have a relationship with the Alliance archives?
Of course, I forgot to speak about the alliance. Can you imagine? Of course,
Okay.
we have links in continuity with the alliance. I mean, they are the most nice people in France. And Jean-Paul Copernic, Jean-Paul Kupermink is such a nice fellow. And of course, I forgot to put it in my PowerPoint. Bon, son of a Jew. I forgot to put it, but I will do it. Jean-Claude Kupermink, who is the manager of, is such a nice fellow. And of course, we have to go to, we go to the Alliance. We are there every day or every week. Please.
No, thank you. We've had him as a speaker. Ton, do you have anything to ask? You're muted. Ton, you're muted.
Your microphone.
A question about the future. Do you plan to use artificial intelligence to transcribe documents?
It's a good question because it is a nowadays question, and it happens to be that Thierry Samama, who is the one who has created the databases Becan, is at the moment trying to work on the to recognize the handwriting, to recognize the handwriting. Alors, this is possible, but it is difficult. It is difficult because some of the documents are so old that it is already difficult to read it even like that. But so to recognize, for example, the Hebrew writing, well, if it is square writing, no problem. But if it is how to say handwriting, it is difficult because the writing of the 19th century and the one of the 16th or 17th century has totally changed. And also there is some writing like the Sephardi writing, which is so different than the ones that you can find in Israel, that you have really to work on each letter, and to what they say, to analyze each letter many times. But I'm sure that it will come one day. Maybe not this year, but maybe next year or in a couple of years. We work on that.
Okay. I think it would be nice to invite Thierry to one of the sessions of Anasao Hebraica.
Absolutely, and it does speak English extremely well.
Yes. So I'll invite him to attend one of our sessions to see what he can learn from it. That's it for me. Other questions?
Bernard, would you like to unmute yourself?
Anyway, let me thank everybody to have come. I can recognize Mr. Alain Fari, who is here every time we are. Thank you very much.
Bernard has a question.
Please.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for the presentation. It's really exciting. And I have to congratulate you on the enormous work that has gone into this. I mean, it is most impressive. I have one very concrete question. You said about your wife having read through the Tunisian newspapers and picked out by hand each reference to a Jewish story. And I wondered, was she looking just for stories that referred to Jews, or was she looking to stories where she recognized that there were names which were Jewish? In other words, it seems to me that it's a massive task. And I just wondered what her search criteria were, because I'm so impressed at what she managed to achieve.
My wife, who is not Jew, is a Jew. She was working in a kibbutz in Israel in 1965, to make you understand. And she's working almost 6 hours a day for many years only on that. For the newspaper from Tunisia, she did look at each page, and should it be a crime committed by a Jew, she would have written a crime. She would, I would say, marriage, weddings, an history about a business affair between two Jews, anything which had to do with the Jews. She took the photos and she translated everything, and she put it in this book that you can see in our how do you say, in our website, and that you can buy. It is not expensive, very interesting, and you can have it by PDF, so that if you, for example, you are looking just for one name, one city, whatever, you would find it, and this is very interesting. But she spent just to do 2 years, 3 years working on that, because it is long. It is long, and
Absolutely.
also how to say, the interest is that you find information that you cannot find elsewhere.
Thank you.
May I just ask a practical question, because we obviously everything we do is on Zoom because we're all in different parts of the world. When you have the in-person meetings now, are these only in Paris or are they in regional places as well?
Which
We only have our meetings on Zoom in this society because we are in different countries. You said that you were returning to having personal meetings. Are these
Yeah.
only in Paris or in other regions as well?
So far it is in Paris, and it
Yeah.
is in Paris, but in each city of France. I mean that we went to Lyon, to Marseille, to Nice, to Strasbourg. Well, I mean that we are going all around France. But my purpose also is to extend and to try to launch the information and the possibilities of not only giving lectures, but also organizing a show. But it's a question of, in fact, it is a question of money, because it is sure that if I had to go to the United States, I want my journey to be paid. See what I mean? Well, but I think it is interesting. I will work on that to have this done one day or another. But why not in how do you say, in Holland or in London? We are ready to do it. We are not paid for that, but at least we must be paid for the séjour, for the journey.
Yes. Thank you. Alomid, bevakasha. You're muted, Alomid.
Yeah, thank you so much for this lecture.
Madame.
I have a question for you. You mentioned the Yiddish and you mentioned some Ashkenazi Jews. So I was wondering if you have any idea about the proportion of Ashkenazi versus Sephardic Jews in these communities. I'm asking because my grandmother was from Skopje, which is now in Macedonia. There were several small communities of Ashkenazi Jews, and when the Jews in the 14th century, 15th century were exiled from Spain, and they were wandering across Europe and across Northern Africa, then Sephardic Jews joined these communities and lived among the Ashkenazi Jews that were there before them.
We have a staff, a team, who specialize about these countries, and what they have searched, what they have been working on. Everything is you can find them if you have a member. You go to the databases and you would find. Now my specialty personally is Italy and Tunisia. So it means that it took me already, my wife and I, a lot of time. So I cannot do more. But we have some specialists, and we are ready to reply to any kind of question. If you want to become a member of our society, it does cost something like 40 or 45 euro for a year. So it is not, and then you have access on all the documents. And I think that it is really mere. It's just a cheap fee for having a lot of information. I cannot bring you more information concerning your question. I have no knowledge.
I was not asking about Macedonia. I was asking about Italy and Tunisia. If you had any information about the mixture there.
Okay, one of the figures I can tell you. In Tunisia, There were something like, let's say, to simplify, 100,000 Jews. Among these Jews, 12% were Jews coming from Italy, coming from Livorno. So
Okay.
it means that these Jews from Livorno, in Livorno, you must understand that the Jewish people in Livorno at its peak, was something like 6,000 people. 6,000 people. But after a while, and this from the 17th century, most of the Jews from Livorno progressively left Livorno because of the wars, because of the disease, because of business opportunity or disopportunity, and so on. And most of them went to Tunisia, where they built links between people there. So most of the Jews from Livorno went to Tunisia. When they went to Tunisia, at the beginning they were separated in between. There was separation between the local Jews, and these Jews are from Livorno, which were modern Jews. I am myself half Livorno from my mother. My mother is De Paz, Calvo, Douani. Bon, okay, and these Jews from Livorno, which were having a higher level of culture, money, and so on, and which were really who had become European. They went there, and progressively there was marriages in between the locals and those coming from Italy. But it took a long time. At the beginning, the cemeteries of Jews from Livorno in Tunisia and those from Tunisia, the Tunisian, there was a wall in between, a stone wall in between the two cemeteries, in the same cemetery. Can you imagine? But voilà, 12%. So the Jewish community was 100,000 people in Tunisia. There are only 1,000 today.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any more questions, or we can?
You can write me. You can. They can write me. You can send them my own email address if somebody has something to ask. But it is sure that the best way is to become a member, because it gives ease. I mean, to get the information. But if there is a specific question, I'm ready to reply and to let's say, to be in connection with a great pleasure.
Yeah.
I have a question about the database. Someone put here the link. Thank you. It looks like if you change the language from French to English, it's not working. So is it currently only in French? The database?
You can go. Our how do you say? Our website is also in English. Is also in English.
Okay.
But if you had any problem, nowadays it is easier to translate everything. I mean that even your telephone, you do like that, and you translate even Hebrew. You see what I mean? But so
I speak Hebrew and a little French, but I don't know if I can do a search on French website. Thank you. I will try.
I'll try to help you. Should be the case.
Merci beaucoup.
De quoi? תודה רבה.
Great. Thank you, and
more.
thank you for making this presentation, because I think the Cercle is probably the most, in my opinion, the most impressive of all the Jewish genealogical societies, especially in terms of the original work you're doing and the publications you're producing. So it is well worth people joining the society.
Mrs. Nedjar, who did help me a lot and is working all day long for the Jews.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Maybe you can tell something about the project you are working on now, the Ketubbot of Tunis.
Yes. Alors, in fact, what we are working on is that we had the opportunity to go to the original documents of the Ketubbot of the old people of the Tunisian Jews coming from Livorno, and those coming from Livorno to Tunisia, they were named the Grana. Grana is like Legon. It means Grana in Arabic means Livorno, simply. Bon. So these people have been named, surnamed Grana. And in fact, we had found that there was the book of Attal concerning 2 registers of Ketubbot. But luckily, we have found in Tunisia the 3 missing registers. And these 3 missing registers did allow us to link all the marriages during 96 years or 97 years in continuity. Well, so what we have done, we have read again the original documents, and from as we have a lot of other sources, instead of having, as I told you, just the skeleton of the Ketubbot, we enrich this to become the total story of each family. I mean that our work, which is taking something like 3 years together with my wife, another Gilles Boulu and another guy, 4 people during 3 years, and during, let's say, 6 hours a day, will allow us to have a new book of 800 pages. And I think that I would translate it also in English, because as I told you, something like between 30 to 40% of the sales are from abroad. Well, so it will bring a new dimension of the Jewish life. This has never been done before, and I am proud to say that we will bring a wonderful gift to the people of Tunisia, because the history, we open the door of each family.
Great. Can you tell us when the book will appear approximately?
We
Or does
cannot
it take
rush.
another 3 years?
No, we cannot rush, but we think that it will be at the end of this year, because it is, you know, it is complicated to have to not only to write a book, but to print it, to know the price, to organize the communication. I mean, it's not a mere affair. I mean, it is. I know what I say, because I did it for all our books, which are all are sold now, but it's a question of really, how do you say, a spot market, you know. Well, so I have to think about it, but of course I will try this time to work with the TV, to the newspapers, and so on. I know what exactly I'm going to do. At the end of the year, I think that we would have it. I will let you post it, of course.
Yes. And then we invite you again to talk about it.
With a great pleasure, because Ton and David, I have also a wonderful pleasure to see you. Should it be in Paris or wherever? Really, you are one of the pillar of the earth, of the Jewish earth.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Both.
If you don't see, I'm blushing.
I apologize for my English, which is a little bit so-so.
Oh, it's it's perfect. It's understandable, clear, and the message comes through.
Mais en tout cas, merci beaucoup. Thank you very much for everybody to have come to this evening. It is, they say, what we are doing is a duty. It is let's say a mitzvah, if I may say. Our mitzvah is to work on the memory by the means of genealogy, and I think that it is say nowadays extremely important. As you know, some people, they want to erase us from the surface of Earth. So what we have to do is to write and to keep the memory, because our people is like that, you know.
Yes.
Oui, Henri. Oui, Alain.
Merci beaucoup pour cette présentation. Thank you very much for this introduction. And as you probably know, I have been working with the Cercle over the years, with Kalman Levy back then,
Oui.
and then much recently with the team of your editors. and I was still in contact on a different project with them.
But we are your presence is an honor for our circle because we know you, we know what we do, and you know many members like you, I would say, make our circle having an excellent level.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that we can conclude, David.
Thank you.
Ben, écoutez, merci beaucoup. Shalom, Toda Rabba, and let's cross fingers that our, I say, that, ça s'appelle en anglais?
Hostages.
Hostages.
The hostages, sorry, the hostages will be free